Well done, Natalie. I think that deserves a round of applause. I mentioned a few moments ago that we would hear a few stories about Davy from his grandchildren, and I'd like to invite Oliver to join me to share his memories with us all.
Hi everybody, this is my wee tribute to Davy. So where do I start with trying to summarise the past 35 years which I've known Davy? Well, where better than the first memory of him? Do any of you remember the mask? Yeah? Well, just imagine for a minute being a lad around 4 years old, exploring your grandparents' house, only to have the Jesus frightened out of you, as a tall masked figure jumped out from behind the sofa. Looking back, it's pretty funny, you have to agree with this, you know. But how many of us carry on the tradition with our own families? You know, how many of us stand behind the doors or the walls waiting for their unsuspected wife or their child to come along and then quickly but subtly say, it's only me, and it scares the daylights out of them. Well, I do it all the time, and so do my kids. So what I'm trying to say really is this is one of the aspects of Davy's personality, which has influenced us all and has been passed along to all of us, so he kind of lives on through us all. I have many fond memories of the time spent with Davy, particularly during my time spent at Bath University. I would often cycle to Wellsbridge along the old railway line on Friday evening. Davy would prepare steak and chips for myself, actually for four, for myself, Davy, Sam and Duke. And of course, sometimes five if Josh was there. We would sit down and watch football, drink Davy's homemade wine, and then I'd be quizzed in my knowledge of World War II aircraft, which occasionally I'd catch him out on. We talk about all sorts of things like articles in the New Scientist and watch war films. It was a good rest from my university studies. The following day, we'd cruise along to Davy's work in his VW camper van, otherwise known affectionately as the Wendy House. The best job I ever had, Davy told me just 2 weeks ago. 20 grand a year for walking the dogs and feeding the ducks. I mean, that sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, there was a little more to that, of course, but I mean, as all of us as his grandchildren knew, we had first-hand experience of helping him, cutting the grass or doing some weeding or getting a wee cheeky fiver along the way. More recently, as Davy began to slow down, Natalie, Luca and myself would take Davy on Saturday mornings to take him shopping. We'd talk about old memories on the way in the car, and Davy would habitually read out, try and make names out of car registration plates. I'm sure everybody remembers this also. On Sunday, we'd go to Mum and Dad's for roast dinner. We'd pick up Davy on the way, and Natalie and Luca would take turns and go and get chap on his door, and we'd be coming back with a big smile on it and a packet of Kit Kats. And in true Davy fashion, we'd try and catch Luca or Natalie out with a hook of his walking stick as he's pretending to be watching the football, you know. And then after the main meal, he'd be saying to Davy, would you like some ice cream? That's all I came for. You know? In a cheeky but harmless manner, that was Davy. So Davy had a long and full life, and I remember him fondly for all the things he did for me, his generosity towards all the people around him, and for his humour and for all the interests that we shared. In one way or another, Davy lives on within us all.
Thanks very much, Oliver. It's Magdalena's turn now for her tribute.
days. That's how many days have gone past since the day we met, 22 years, 2 months and 20 days ago, to put it more in ordinary terms. It was the day I was born, and it was the same day that you misheard my mum and thought she called me Magic. Ever since then, I have always been called Magic, and every time someone calls me Magic, you come into my head. Every time I watch The Lion King, you come into my head. when me and Ian would play the Lion King PC game on your really old computer in your bedroom, in your bungalow, the bungalow where I remember you and Rosie being. The same bungalow where I'd count all your pennies, which you would have collected in massive tubs, a different tub for each one. I would sit on the bench by the table in your garden by the window, putting all the coins in neat stacks along the table, counting them for you, and then you'd give me some if I were lucky. The same bungalow where I would play with your train sets in your hallway, while Sam, one of the many Sams, would walk all over it and mess it up. The same bungalow where you had the shed in your garden, and the shed where you made me my very own dollhouse, which was the most beautiful dollhouse I've ever seen, made by my granddad for me. The dollhouse where Rosie got me 4 small dolls to play inside it. They were the luckiest dolls in the whole world to live in such a beautiful home. The same bungalow where you would play chess against Dad and drink Baileys. I see so much of you, Dad. All the good, plus the petty gambling habits, the countless lottery tickets. I think that you've won the jackpot now, being back with Rosie, and of course all your labs, all the Sams and Duke. I hope we all make you both proud, and we'll be back with you soon.
Our final tribute is from Dani.
Standing here, I am feeling a myriad of emotions, from the obvious sadness at the loss of my grandfather, to feeling incredibly lucky and blessed to have had him in my life for so long. I have so many happy memories of Davy, which so often go hand in hand with Rosie. From the times Davy would pick us up from school in the Wendy house with a seemingly never-ending supply of Kit Kats, to the trips to Vassals in Bath Park, or the walks we would take at Willsbridge Mill whenever we visited as children. The card games we would play, which no matter what your age had to be played properly, especially if money was involved. The times Abby, Beth and I would go and visit Davy in the evening when he still lived in Bristol, where we would watch his old home videos of the family with a glass of port or Baileys in hand. It was after one such visit we subsequently found out Davy had fallen into the bath and spent the whole night there. It was obviously not his fault at all and entirely ours. Few memories of Davy are complete without him having either a video camera in hand or of course one of his beloved Labradors in tow. I have an extract from a poem by Maya Angelou which puts far more eloquently than I ever could my feelings today. When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. Great souls die, and our reality bound to them takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, now shrink, wizened. Our minds, formed and informed by their radiance, fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to the unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. And when great souls die, after a period, peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us. They existed. They existed. We can be and be better, for they existed.
Thank you very much to all the grandchildren.